And so he says, and in fact, he kind of jumps right into it here. He says, nevertheless, there are more questions pertinent to the discipline of theological ethics than epistemological questions, right? Because Herzl here was questioning, having issues with epistemological questions. So he says theological ethics also asks things like, what is going on here? What is broken? How might we faithfully respond? And most importantly, why?
Hmm.
And he says the why questions are those that predominate ethics. Why is X wrong? Or why is Y obligatory? And in answering the why questions, a theological ethicist inevitably adopts a distinctive style, or to change the metaphor, so he's more in line with Herzl here, thematic tunes in order to harmonize all the data.
Right. Right. Because he described kind of Jesus playing jazz
That's right.
when
Improvising.
right,
Yeah,
going against taking the law and running with it. So
that's right.
he's been punted the ball, and now he goes. And so that's Hetzel's idea for what Jesus is doing there. So Gallenberg goes on to say that one ethicist proposes a theme that holds all the pieces together in harmony, while another ethicist offers another theme that also holds all the pieces in harmony. But as each theme is constructed rather than divinely revealed, we'll never know for sure which theme, if any, God intended. Must we be governed by a theme? No, I suppose not, he says. And he suspects that Hetzels isn't troubled by the fact that he also can't quite manage to pigeonhole his prophetic ethics. However, if he cannot recognize the theme, then he can't predict the next move. And if he can't, how will anyone else do it? How will a disciple ever learn to think according to prophetic ethics if there is no identifiable pattern? I think that's one of the things we may have touched on as well, as there's this drive to kind of be against things, or to look at things in history and say that was good and that was good, and to be more like that. But there's not a pattern to identifying which of those things within that group that he's identifying. So when we talk about civil rights, or when we talk about feeding the poor or the marginalized, at what point are we able to say this is the kind of pattern of replicating, which for the prophetic ethicist of wanting to be a person that does good things, that pattern recognition is to be lauded, because they're the ones that are going to try and model their life after a particular set of ideals, so that way they become the most virtuous person, and by so acting with virtue.
Right. And again, he's going to emphasize the why questions over the what questions, right? He's going to talk about how Herzl gives us the what, but he has problems with the why. He goes on to say, what exactly is the thematic true prophetic ethics offers as an answer to the question why? Note, he tells us he quite easily understands the what being proposed, right? What's the what? Well, we are to understand structural causes of oppression. That's the what, right? As to be better equipped to work for positive social change. That's what we're to do. The moral obligation, the what, he says, seems clear. But how does prophetic ethics explain why we are obligated to work for social change? Is it because we are thus commanded, as the divine command model would have it? Is it because just relations are part of the ideal definition of human beings, as, for instance, the natural law would have it? Or is it because the human telos is a particular kind of friendship and community, as virtue ethics would have, right? And so he says, without a careful, thoughtful, transparent method of ethical reasoning, prophetic ethics will become ensnared in what he calls a viper's nest of hermeneutical problems, right?
Right.
So he's suggesting here that yes, you give us the what, but there's no framework, no model
Right.
for the why, which
Right.
is the ethical question
Right.
that he thinks Herzl here falls short of.
Right. I think this is kind of a stellar point here too, because without that why, you're going to have some other system that comes into play here. So, let's just look out at the world and say who out there is forming this type of prophetic ethics in the way that it's carried out. Well, what if you don't have a Christian set of ethics? What if you have something that is devoid of God, and so comes in and suggests kind of a communistic anti-deism overview? It gets to the what, but it doesn't get to the why. It supplants its own why because of political nature of overcoming the capitalism of the day, progressing towards socialism, and then your final telos there is a communistic society that's devoid of the state, and everyone lives in harmony because everyone's a good and virtuous person just by the fact of being born. So your why comes into play there, but with prophetic ethics, it doesn't seem clear the case of why. So I think Kallenberg here makes a very stellar point on his behalf.
Yeah.